The film you were watching was taken in San Francisco in 1906, right before the earthquake that would level most of the city. Just 4 days after this footage was shot, the city you are looking at right now was wiped out forever. The buildings you see crumbled. The lives of the people you were watching were forever changed. Without this film, without the recorded image, the people, clothing, automobiles, horse and carriages, the architecture, all details great and small, would have been wiped out, erased, memories that would have died with time. But through the power of the image, they live forever. We can see this film today all over the internet. With a click of a button, it comes back to life. But what if this film didn't exist? What if no films existed? No photographs, no sound recordings, no media at all? How would we remember the past? How would our idea of the people, places, and things that came before us be forever altered? How much poorer would human knowledge be for such a catastrophic loss? What if, tomorrow, an authoritarian regime ruled all recorded media illegal? What if all cameras and recording devices were seized and destroyed? What if all moving images were erased from existence? What if the very act of making a movie or taking a picture became illegal, and all filmmakers, photographers, and artists were declared enemies of the state? This is the story of what happened after just such a change took place. My name is Kevin Quartermain. Here, in my underground film society, I keep the dream alive. The dream of cinema. Here I show all those images, the forbidden images, that have been banned by the new authoritarian regime. I couldn't bear to see the international language of cinema silenced by the forces of power and control. So with the help of a couple dedicated film rebels, we decided to fight back. This is our story.
Hey, Alvin. Come on in, quick. Did anybody see you?
No, the coast is clear.
Oh, good. Let me take a quick look. Yeah, everything's cool. All right. You got the stuff.
Oh yeah, right here.
The essence, the beauty.
Here it is. Just what you wanted.
Amazing. Thank you. You've done me a service and the world. Okay, I have something for you as well.
Oh, okay.
So just hold 1 second. I'll get it. There it is. I found it.
Great, thank you.
There it is.
Wow.
A genuine piece of the truth.
I've been looking for this for years.
Well, I'm glad I finally was able to connect with you and get it to you and get it to the eyes and brains of as many people as possible.
And it's great that you've been collecting all these. You've been collecting since the
Oh,
16 millimeter days.
Since the 8mm days, I've collected every scrap of visual information that could be collected on film, videotape, or DVD. And I am jealously hoarding it. And would you like to come in and have a cup of tea?
Sure, that sounds good. I can't believe that it's been, 4 years of this already? I mean, all recorded media erased, wiped, and it's only really been because of, collectors keeping this alive. What I don't understand is, what are they so afraid of? Why is it that these authoritarians fear the moving image so much?
Well, because it holds the truth. It carries the truth forward. And imagery doesn't lie. What you see is what you see.
Right.
It's self-evident. It proves itself to be true. The truth is right there in front of your eyes. You can see somebody doing an evil deed, and that to you is they're hurting someone else. That is evil. That elicits an emotional response in you. And what filmmakers and artists have done through the ages is make you have that emotional response, and that's a good thing, and that's a healing thing, and that makes the connection between the art and the artists, and the artists and the people, and that keeps rolling, and the truth is in there, and people can see it, and the authorities don't want people to see the truth because they thrive on hiding the truth, because the truth doesn't make money.
Right. They're certainly making it difficult for us, but I believe that there are a lot of other people out there, a lot of like-minded people out there who are going to find ways to keep this alive, find ways to keep recording images, find ways to keep sharing them and showing them.
Well, it's been ever since I was a child. The imagery has been the most important thing in my life, because I was taken to the movies for one reason or another, and at 6 years old, and I was imprinted like the Lorenzian geese. So the movies became my mother, and I looked for approval and all that love and everything from the heroes in the movies, the imagery, the cowboy heroes, the monsters, which of course that leads you back to always being on the side of the monster, because they usually symbolize something that society is trying to destroy. Like, for instance, King Kong was an allegory for the black man, and they couldn't have that happen. They couldn't have a black man conquer the world, so he had to be destroyed.
So
And
these
they-
kinds of messages have always sort of been embedded in the images in one way or another.
Yeah, they're in the imagery. They're in writing, but unfortunately, people stopped reading, and so for the most part, not everybody, of course, but the huge hive mind of humanity got completely addicted to the visual image and the information that's contained in a visual image, and they interpret it as they will, being human beings.
I guess we've reached this point where, just as authoritarians once were burning books, now it's erasing images.
Yeah, well, anything to keep the truth away from the people who are hungry for it.
Right.
And the people are usually the people that aren't rich.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's all about power and
It's
control.
all about power and control,
Yeah.
and the people that have the money and are in control have the power to stay in control, and that's why there are no gun laws. That's
Right.
why people keep killing each other in droves. And
That's what I'm trying to do in my own little way with this underground film society, is just to keep these images circulating, to keep it alive, and to bring these like-minded people together. And I have to tell you, they've really enjoyed your video messages.
Well,
Yeah,
to have somewhere that this information and the imagery is accessible to them, the entire spectrum of visual experience, from silent films to crazy psychedelic music videos,
Yeah.
and everything in between.
Right.
It's all in there, and the imagery is the truth. There's not, you can't hide the truth from the human brain and eye.
Right.
It collects it, and there it is. It imprints it on your brain, and you can tell if you have a conscience, of course. And having and that, another thing that truth being available to people is important for is to give them a conscience, and to sharpen their conscience, and to show them, oh, that person in that film is doing that terrible thing to that other person. Am I like that? Do I do things like that? It makes you reflect on yourself and maybe correct wrongs in your own life. That's why films like that have cult films happen, like it happened. It's a Wonderful Life. That's the perfect example that you see things going exactly the opposite way than they should, and you want them to go the right way.
Right.
So you try to do what the film is urging you to do without telling you specifically to do it. But the imagery urges you to have a positive emotional response and to be actually happy.
Right. I'm going to have to head out to the, speaking of which, I'm going to have to head out to the Film Society meeting here
Alrighty.
shortly. But before I go, I did bring my camera. Maybe we could just shoot one quick interview, one quick message that I can share with them tonight.
Sure.
After my meeting with Alvin, I was scheduled to meet another film collector by the name of George Kaplan. At least, that's the name he goes by. George comes from another city quite a distance away. He's risking his life just by coming here at all. I hope he knows what he's doing. Before the change, George had connections at all the film archives around the world and traded with collectors whose rare treasures included supposedly lost films not known to exist even by the studios who'd made them. George's activities brought him to the attention of the authorities, and last I heard, he had to flee with whatever films he could grab on his way out of the city. Now George is a fugitive of the state, and I'm helping him hide out here while he plans the next steps of his escape. Between the films and the radical political activities these days, I feel like I'm living in a Jean-Luc Godard movie. Hey.
Oh, thank you for meeting me.
Yeah, did you make it okay?
Yeah, trying to wrap up a little early, but I don't think anybody spotted me.
All
I
right.
don't think they know I'm in town yet.
Good. How was the journey?
And I got out as fast as I could. I knew I didn't have much time.
Right.
After they raided the archive, it was only a matter of time before they came for me. Got home, saw all my servers were gone. They must have gone out looking for me. I grabbed what I could and head out.
Yeah, I'm glad you made it out in time. What do you think they did with all the files?
I mean, I can only imagine they got rid of them as quickly as possible. I think they're on a mission. Hunt down as many films as they can and eradicate them.
Have you been able to connect with other collectors and start to rebuild anything?
Yeah, this is going to be the first stop among many. Thankfully, I have backups in my servers all around the country. Made contact with a few of the people. They're ready to meet me, give me the backups. Anything I can back up, I'll be giving you copies for your archive.
Oh, great, great. Yeah, I'm trying to get people all over the state together and get all the materials in one place. But I think there's actually a danger in that because we don't want, if things get discovered, we don't want everything to be destroyed at once. So I think the key thing is making copies, getting everything spread, get it out there, keep it safe.
Hopefully on my journeys I can find other people like yourself that are starting these underground film archives, but as far as I know, you're the only one.
Well, I'll tell you, you're legendary among the collecting scene. I can't believe all the things that you've been able to get, and I know that there's a lot of films that I think are only surviving now because you've rescued them.
I mean, there's more collectors out there like me. I only have a handful. I have a lot of early cinema. That was my specialty. But there's a lot of film out there.
I'm curious, what is it specifically about early cinema that really draws you to that?
It's the birth of the medium. It's still exciting to see the product of the imagination that created this art form. What is it that excited them as they saw the camera for the first time and looked through the lens and they could see motion. That sort of magic is what gave birth to the whole medium. We had over a century of filmmaking before the change happened. And seeing those films today, they still have that inspiration, and I think that's what's going to give birth to the rise of cinema once again.
Yeah, when everything was new and fresh and exciting. And I think it's about to be new and fresh and exciting again. That's the mistake that they made when they decided to purge all this media. You can't kill that inspiration and the creativity and the human spirit that it represents.
No, it's still there. The films as objects still survive. It's happened before in history. These films were, neglected. They were lost. They were suppressed. They were edited. They were thrown away. But they still survived somehow. Collectors held on to them. Archivists held on to them. In some cases, the films survived, in spite of everything. These films were left out in nature. They were left in basements. They survived. Paper prints. People didn't think that those paper prints, were expected to survive, and
Right.
they were able to take them, put them back on film. It's amazing how resilient cinema is in whatever, physical or digital capacity.
Right.
It finds a way.
Think about this. Cinema, like any art, is not created to make money. no matter how much it has become perverted by money, cinema was created because somebody felt a need for it. There was a need for it, a need for the expression. I believe it was Louis Lumiere who said that cinema was an invention without a future. That was, I think, the famous quote by Louis Lumiere. So think about that for a minute. Why would somebody invent something that they saw no future in? And I think, to me, that really demonstrates that it was not primarily a business or commercial need. It was a creative one. It was to be able to do it, to be able to say that you did this, that you created it.
People had to figure out how to make money through this over the years.
Right.
Once the initial attraction died down, they had to find new ways to exploit it. So there is these lines of commerce and art and technology, they're all going at the same time.
Right.
And it's amazing how one fuels the other. It happened in the past and it will happen again.
That's true. The competition that the box office presented, it did create that kind of challenge to give people what they wanted and to push the limits of the medium in a lot of ways. But I believe fundamentally it has to be, first and foremost, a tool for personal and creative expression. I think without that, it's really empty and hollow.
One of the films I'm hoping to find on my journey is a documentary series by Kevin Brownlow called Hollywood. And one of my memories of it is there's a interview with a critic who saw the first screening of The Jazz Singer. And he jokes and says, I played my part in history by saying that sound would never last. And of course he was wrong, and he lived to tell the tale. But I think that's a marvelous moment to think that even that innovation nobody wanted.
Right.
Nobody thought it was going to last.
Right. It also was a case, in that particular case, of it coming along at just the right moment, because there had been earlier attempts at introducing sound. And the same is true for color, 3D, all of these other technological innovations, that they sort of just have to come at the right moment when there's a demand for it. You can't force it, in other words. That's what I think right now we're really on the cusp of a kind of creative rebirth of cinema. I think we're about to see an explosion of new ideas, new approaches, and in many ways kind of getting back to the basics, a return to the fundamentals of why somebody would choose to make a film in the first place.
I love seeing how archiving and the act of filmmaking are merging together.
Yeah, and so much drawing on the past. Well, at this point we have to. After the authoritarians erased the visual record, the only remaining record we have of it is thanks to people like yourself who are keeping this alive. I'm trying to do my part out there making films to continue to keep the visual record alive, to add new information to the record, but it's not easy.
Your archive, the Underground Film Society, that's essential.
I'm really looking forward for you to come out to one of our meetings at the Underground Film Society while you're in town. I think you'd really be inspired by the people who are coming out to it. They're really students of cinema.
I'm excited. That's what drives me.
Yeah, they love film. The passion is absolutely infectious. I'm sure you go through this sometimes yourself, but there are days when you're dealing with all of these the hassles, the fear of being caught and found out, the fear of having your life's work erased and destroyed, and having your own life destroyed in the process. But in many ways, it's those students of film that really inspire me to keep going. Who's going to do it for them if we don't? We know where to find this stuff. We remember what it was like before the change.
You're doing great work, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking a chance picking me up. It's dangerous.
Sure thing. I hate to think what would happen, if collectors just stopped. I think about if you have somebody who just stops collecting, what the implications of like that could be, because what happens to all their materials? That's why I think it's at least important to keep the lines of communication open between these networks.
These films have changed hands so many times over the years. They've changed formats. They're going to keep circulating.
Yeah.
This is just the latest stop.
That's true. It's the films will live on. Well, when I get you to your destination, do you have a place to go, or do you have plans of what you're going to get up to?
The less you know, the better.
Okay. Well,
but we have plans to meet tomorrow.
Yes. I'm going to show you the location that I've been thinking about for the Film Society for our new location meeting, and we're going to take a look at that, and I might have a couple of files that I want to get to you that you might need to complete your collection to kind of round it out.
Anything you can give me is great. People like to trade. I like to make sure I can give people back. You know, Lord knows I'm going to be asking for a lot from them.
All right, here it is. This is the spot I was telling you about. You got your flashlight?
Yeah.
All right.
This is nice and out of the way.
Yeah. You just have to be careful. I don't know if anybody's in there.
All right, we'll see. We'll
yeah.
be prepared.
Yeah. Just watch out. Stay behind me. I'll go first and make sure nobody's in there.
3. Coast clear?
Yeah, come on. Just watch your step. On this way.
This is like another world down here.
Oh, look at this.
This is an incredible climb.
Yeah.
Good job.
I'll tell you, as soon as I heard about this place, I knew I had to check it out. Apparently, these catacombs go at least 16 levels deep. That's according to the old map that I was able to find. But I hear that there's even older additional levels that people haven't even probably been in over a century at this point. But it's an old. The idea is it's an old fort, and these were used for moving artillery and ammunition. So I don't even know how deep these tunnels go, but at least 16 levels. So I think it would be a perfect place to look into forming an archive and really like a little command center for our whole operation.
It's nice and cool. Can we get power down here?
Well, that's the thing. I've heard about a room on the bottom level that there's a way that we can probably run power to the surface and get at least enough juice to power the projector. I don't know what the lighting situation would be like down there, but at this point I'll take whatever we can get. And then this is where you come in, and this is why I wanted to show you this, because as you're looking for a place to basically store your collection, there's another room that I'm looking into the possibility of even getting some kind of a climate control system.
Yeah, that would be perfect because we got to keep those servers dry.
Yeah. So my hope is we can get the climate control system installed and then find a permanent home for all of your servers, all of Alvin's materials. I'm actually going over to talk to him soon. He said that he had some materials that he wanted to show me that he's trying to find a home for.
It's going to be climate control. Maybe we can even keep some prints. Try and rebuild the physical library.
Yeah, see what we can find. So many of those were destroyed when all the library collections were purged and the archives were shut down. But I know of at least a couple of collectors who were able to get some things out before the change, before everything kind of went down. So my hope is that if we can get in touch with them, they'll be able to at least provide enough for us to start a new a new collection, kind of enough to start from rebuilding everything. Those are probably going to be mostly 35 millimeter prints, some 16.
What about the paper prints?
That's a good question. I don't even know what the status of that is, but Thankfully, a lot of those have been digitized, so at least we can get digital files on those and keep those on the servers.
These movies survive one way or another. It's amazing.
I know.
They try and shut them down. They try and destroy them.
Yeah. There's always people out there who are going to keep it alive, and I think this is going to be a really important step in making that happen. So even though I know this place looks pretty rough up here, but I think once we really get going, once we get the archive built, the screening room built, I think this is going to really be our permanent home base. And as you know, that's been our biggest problem, is just trying to have a permanent home base, always staying one step ahead of the authorities. But what we're going to have down here, no one's going to be able to shut down.
Yeah, these walls seem thick. I don't think they can track us down here.
No, and I haven't even looked at what kind of Wi-Fi penetration or anything like that might be. I can't imagine 16 levels down. There's no way.
The less, the better.
Yeah. But I don't know where all these tunnels head yet. We can go back a little further and see what's here.
You lead the way. I follow.
Oh, careful! It looks like somebody put this down. The floor might be a little weak underneath.
Man, years ago this was probably meant for someone with a gun, but this is like perfect for us. It's like a little ticket booth.
Right.
I mean, we could have a guard there too, keeping watch, but God, I almost just want to get up and I can imagine, showing an ID card or something.
Yeah.
Someone gives me the ticket. It's gonna be like the old days.
Right. Look at this. You could even imagine having little side screening rooms in here. See that? Look at that far wall there. Get a little screen in there. Have like a little salon. Have people just kind of coming and going and seeing whatever we can dig up.
I mean, you're making the underground cinema underground for real.
Yeah.
This is the perfect home.
Yeah. Well, we got to keep it alive. Keep it out of the hands of the authorities. Thing to remember, it's like how this happened. Was it started small with, one film here or there, but eventually they got the whole thing. They took the whole thing down. Our whole visual heritage erased.
That's what else we got.
Yeah.
Let's keep it small.
Just that on that.
I can see it. The screen right there.
Yeah.
We could even installation screens everywhere.
Yeah. Imagine this. Give people a chance to come out here and have their work seen. I know there's other people out there doing this stuff. It's just about getting it seen, getting them connected. Look at this.
This is where it's all going to be reborn.
Yeah.
Hold up a minute.
All right.
I gotta take a breather.
Sure.
You need any water?
No, I'm good, thanks. You hear that? It's those goddamn helicopters again.
They're always after someone.
Yeah. Welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Underground Film Society. Tonight we have a real treat for you, an extreme rarity. The long-lost and heavily censored pre-code classic Convention Girls of 1933. Now, it's my honor to present to you our special guest tonight, Mr. George Kaplan. And George is coming to us from out of town, but he's got a lot of interesting information to share with you about tonight's film and some interesting insights into the archival process through which this film survives for us today. So without further ado, here's Mr. George Kaplan to talk about Convention Girls of 1933.
Well, thank you for having me, Kevin. And the less said about where I'm from, the better. I'm still quite wanted in some places. But yes, tonight's film is a real treat, a real rarity, and it's a miracle that this exists at all. When this film originally came out, the country was still governed by state censor boards, and depending on where in the country you wanted to show the movie, it had to go before this board. As a result, different prints were shown in different states because some parts of the country were very sensitive to politics, others were very sensitive to violence, others were very sensitive to sexuality, and this was a film that offended everybody on all of those levels. So that meant prints circulated wildly, all different. In order for this film to be shown today, all of these prints had to be gathered. They had to be watched to see what was different about each one, and then they had to be put back together. Which means that this is the first time this film is being presented in the intended form.
Now, George, for anyone who may not be familiar, we mentioned that this is a pre-code film that was released in 1933, so a year before the production code was really heavily enforced. So films like this could kind of slip under the radar. Now, like you said, that they might run into state censorship, but at least they could be made.
Correct.
Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of the particular history of this film, kind of as a as it went through its journey with censorship? Because my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that when this film was up for re-release, I believe in 1936, it was denied a seal of approval from the Production Code Office entirely, right? It was completely denied.
Correct. At that point, the film essentially died. It had no life. The only way that we were able to piece it together is that many of the prints that were circulating in 1933 never found their way back to the studio. Some projectionists kept the film because they knew it was a treasured object. Some knew that it would be valuable later on. Some were just collectors who wanted to keep it for themselves, and others just forgot to send it back. And for whatever reason, we're grateful today because without those projectionists and collectors, these prints would have been put into the vault and would have been destroyed after the change.
So this sounds like another case where the film really survives and is passed down to us today because of piracy, essentially, right? I mean, people
Absolutely.
And holding it, bootlegging prints, holding on to prints that should have been returned to the studios. So once again, it's our film heritage is kept alive by the collectors, the people who are passionate about these films, the people who love these films, and the people who keep them available and keep access to them.
Correct.
That's something we talk a lot about here, is the importance of course, at this point, everything that we're able to see has survived because of piracy and keeping prints available and files available that otherwise should technically have been destroyed. On that note, I wanted to ask you about something. I know that prior to the change, you were actually working as an archivist.
Correct.
For the State Film Archive. Can you talk a little bit about your experiences there, especially at the moment when the change took place and our visual media was purged?
When we got word that the change was happening, it was too late. When we came in, everything was gone.
How did it feel seeing all of that art that you've devoted your life to? How did it feel seeing it just wiped out like that?
I mean, to say that it, part of me died, it doesn't even, capture that. It was this great emptiness because it's not like something that's lost that can be refound. This is something that had been found that, generations of archivists and collectors and filmmakers and preservationists had managed to keep together, and it was just taken.
Right. As we often say here, that's the thing with recorded media, is it always preserves the experiences and preserve the truth, and that is what is ultimately wiped out when our recorded media is erased. Do you want to talk at all about any of your other ongoing efforts? Is there anything that you are authorized to share at this time, at liberty to share with us at this time?
Nothing, but if you have anything, please give it to Kevin. If you have, connections, other friends, or people that might know people that have these films, Kevin is keeping this all together.
Great. Well, I want everybody to thank George again for coming out and speaking with us tonight. I think it's really valuable to hear his insights and to hear kind of what's going on, on the ground, so to speak. And George, keep fighting the good fight. And before we start the film tonight, we do have a new special video message to bring to you from our friend Alvin. How do you think censorship in the 1930s held back the art of American film? And also, how do you think filmmakers found creative ways around that?
Well, that's the thing, that when they were confronted by the wall of censorship, they simply started trying to find ways around it, and they did. They went right up to the very, very borders of decency, and tried to sneak a little bit beyond. And it made people more inventive. It had the collateral effect of making filmmakers and writers more inventive and finding different ways of looking at things. And it caused people to use their imagination. It stimulated people's imaginations to the point that they overcame the censorship and eventually defeated it.
Armed with our digital point-and-shoot cameras, George and I took to the streets to begin our project of documenting the city for posterity. We were on a mission, not only to save cinema's past, but to preserve it for the future. We started like the first filmmakers did, recording the world around us. We saw ourselves as the cinematic descendants of the Lumiere brothers, of Flaherty and Vertov, of Chris Marker and Jonas Mekas. We had to move fast, traveling around the city to keep one step ahead of the authorities from the Ministry of Communication. Our small cameras allowed us to keep a low profile, and because they lacked any kind of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth capabilities, could not be remotely controlled or tracked by the authorities. George and I saw ourselves working in the tradition of the City Symphony films, trying to capture not just the physical spaces but also the character of the city as those films did. I'd learned of a park in the city with a marble staircase that had been photographed in one such film, Autumn Fire, made by Herman G. Weinberg in 1931. I wanted to take George there so he could see the location as it exists today, and to document what it looks like nearly a century after it was first filmed. This seemed to be the perfect place to connect the past and the present on film.
I think it's alright if I grab a quick pic.
Yeah, go ahead.
Legendary movie.
Yeah. I'll tell you, this is a bit of historic architecture around here, and I'm really glad it was preserved in that film. That's the thing. It's just, I see this as, what we're doing is like a direct descendant of the City Symphony. Just trying to preserve the city, the landscape, the architecture, everything on film before it changes.
To me, I feel like the City Symphony is like the closest you can get to like the original like impulse of like Lumiere and those original filmmakers, where they were documenting the world around them. And the City Symphony kind of grows from that sense of actuality but then brings in, montage and sort of the poetic aspect of editing and what happens when you put these shots together.
Right. It's like we're not just capturing raw reality, but really trying to see it through a certain lens. And really, I think that's the thing, and that's what the makers of these city symphonies did, was they were directing, in the sense of directing our attention, directing what they thought was important to preserve. Yeah.
I think it's incredible to compare three movies like Manhattan, $24 Island, and Skyscraper Symphony, all made within a couple of years of each other in New York, and yet just so vastly different in terms of what the directors wanted to do.
Right.
I mean, I feel like Flory's film, there's almost no human element at all. It's just like the skyscrapers, sort of tearing into the sky. I love the contrast between like the bright white, sky, and then these buildings that are just like, this like dark gray. It's almost like teeth. And then like, Manhattan, has that, is it 112, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so poetic with the use of intertitles. And $24 Island, is so much about the people. And I'm forgetting, it's a decade later, but Bronx Morning.
Oh yeah, Bronx Morning, right.
That's the most humanistic of any of the city symphonies that I've seen.
Yeah. It definitely seems to be the most focused on the people rather than the architecture and the physical landscape, yeah.
I just love that. It's about, the rhythms of their movements, of their routines. It's really lovely, and I think Jay was like 20 years old when he made that. He was incredibly young. And it was his first movie, right?
I believe so, yeah. I just think it's so important, and you look back at those films and you see a value there that, while I'm sure that the people making them hoped it would have that value, we now know that it has that value. It's really been proven over time. And it really goes all back to Lumiere. It's really, in a way, the foundation that cinema was built on. It really goes back to the actuality, the film's everyday life, the kind of mundane details that I think we often forget the importance of. We forget to document them. But then there are those who did, and they're just all the more precious for it.
And every time the camera rolls and we start watching, the world comes back.
Yeah.
We can relive those moments.
Right. Well, we better get on with our own project here.
Yeah.
I do want to cover a bit more ground before we call it a day.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. One of the things that we're trying to do is to document the landscape, the architecture, the cities, before it's lost to time. Can you talk a little bit about how film has...
Yeah, well, there are two really good examples of that. Are the film that was made in 1906, a couple of days before the San Francisco earthquake, that showed everything intact that would soon be gone forever. And the second film that comes to mind is Walter Ruttmann's Symphony Berlin, Symphony of a Great City, which showed in minute detail everything about the way that city works, the places, the architecture, the art, the culture, everything that existed before it was bombed into the Stone Age by the Allies in 1940s in the Second World War. And so that exists, and films of places that have been destroyed, films that are important to be preserved, that people know what history was and resist the effects of people trying to rewrite it.
Do you feel like film has a special or a unique quality for preserving memories?
Well, yeah, it's pure imagery, and the words matter. They do matter, but the imagery is the very most important thing. That the visual information is passed on from one set of eyes and brains to another.
What do you think is, when a film is destroyed or erased, aside from the film itself, what else is lost along
Well,
with that?
The loss of the actual existence of many people that have no other proof of their existence than their being on that film. And you can, well, when you look at a film, you'll see a baby and you'll say, wow, that baby's 90 years old right now. You know, that's the thing. The film is a time machine. It allows you to stop time and travel back and forth in time. That's one of the most magical things about film and visual information. And photography. But when photography was invented, time was stopped right there. And we've continued to play with time. Film editors have been manipulating time for a century now. And it works really well. Come on in here and look at this. This is what I wanted to show you. This is the remains of the VHS collection. There is 1,000 titles left, and I've got to find a home for them. The longer I'm here, the more possibility is that I'll be discovered, and these tapes will be destroyed.
Yeah, this is an amazing collection. But yeah, you're taking quite a risk having these here in the house. You got to get these into an archive. You know, that's one of the things that I'm trying to set up with the Film Society. Is we're looking into moving into a new location. We've got there's a possibility that we're going to be moving into a room that's deep in the catacombs under the city.
Good.
And if we can get this space,
security is important.
Right.
Security is the most important thing. And the thing about this collection is that makes it even more unique is that it's not just movies that there are other copies of. It's cable TV, comedy specials, and comedians are the first people that are censored. And they would like to get their hands on this and get it away from people and have them never hear any of the truth.
That's right. The comedians always speak the truth, and that's what they're afraid of.
They speak the truth to power.
Yep.
With a big grin on their face.
Yeah, that's. I think it's so hard to find any of those now. They were even before, all the change happened.
Yeah.
The comedians were the first to go. They were getting canceled left and right. Anything that offended the powers that be.
Canceled. Canceled and erased.
Yep. Well, I will definitely try to find a good home for these. I will speak with a friend of mine who's in town. We're trying to get the new space set up, and we will figure out a way to get these out of the house and transported there safely. But if everything works out, we're going to have a climate-controlled room deep in the catacombs where any media should be safe.
Well, that makes me feel a whole lot better.
Yeah. Great.
Good.
Oh, hey.
Kevin, good to see you.
Good to see you. Glad you could make it out here.
I'm glad we can meet today, too.
Yeah.
Got some exciting news.
Okay.
Made my Connect last night. Was able to restore all of the early cinema that I lost when I had to leave so quickly.
Oh, great.
And I made backups for your archive.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
It includes all of the Lumiere films.
Our favorite.
If you got a moment, I just want to show you a sample of some of the things that I was able to give you.
Yeah, of course.
Got the train leaving the station. The workers leaving the factory.
Very first one.
It's magnificent. Got the people departing the boat. And then one of my favorites, you know, the parents feeding the child. And I don't know if you've heard this story, but when audiences originally saw this, they were most impressed by the background because the wind was going through the trees and you could see it moving, and they had never seen that before.
Right. You know what I love about that story is that to me it kind of captures the raw power of these films. That it's that ability to capture these mundane little details, you know, things that we take for granted in the everyday, but to capture them on film, to amplify them, and to really preserve them.
And this one's also so interesting in comparison to the other films that we already talked about.
Right.
You know, the train has this, you know, magnificent, you know, locomotive coming right at the camera.
Right.
The workers leaving the factory, tons of people, and also, you know, when they're leaving the boat, it's just filled.
Yeah.
And this is a really intimate, almost kind of quiet composition. You have the father on one side, the mother on the other, the child in the middle. It's something very relatable that I'm sure audiences, you know, knew very intimately, and it's almost as if they're in you know, the room with them, right across the table.
Right.
And I mean, in so many ways, you know, it's almost as if they could see the future of cinema, the different types of stories, the different places the camera could go.
Well, that's something I find so remarkable. Is we're talking about really the first 2 or 3 years of cinema, and it was almost like were exploring all of the different potential subjects and approaches that you could do, and doing it in you know, what was like a 50-second single take. You know,
it's incredible what they could do in such a limited amount of time,
right,
and within one shot.
Yeah.
I mean, they even explored comedy. You know, the one with the hose, where the person, you know, is gardening. The child steps on it. The gardener thinks it's broken, so he looks in the nozzle. The child steps off, and the water hits him in the face.
Right.
I mean, that could have been Max Sennett. That could have been Jerry Lewis. It's still funny today.
Right.
Oh, and then there's the magnificent one of the destruction of the wall, which begins just like a regular, you know, documentary actualité.
Yeah.
And then halfway through, it switches to a trick film when it reverses and the wall becomes upright again. They're subverting audience expectation. It's almost like a genre where the audience knows what's going to happen, and they're like, no.
You know, what I find so interesting about that was also how they were already playing with the form,
Yeah.
you know, film itself, and yeah, like you said, it kind of surprising the audience by playing with that.
And all those tracking shots are just, you know, still beautiful today. All the ones from, you know, whether it's on a train, on a, you know, in cars, or, you know, the canal.
Yeah.
And the story I heard about the canal is that the camera operator thought that, you know, Lumiere was going to be upset with him because nobody had done it before. And after Lumiere saw the footage, he ordered all of his cameramen to make sure you get mobile shots.
Yeah. You know what I think is something interesting to consider here? You were talking about the film a minute ago with the people disembarking from the boat. Now, I had read something about this, that was actually taken at a scientific conference, I believe, and that the attendees were filmed arriving and getting off of the boat. And because the Lumiere's camera, the cinematograph, also doubled as a printer and projector, they were able to have that film developed and shown that very night.
Oh, man, it's such an incredible piece of technology.
Yeah.
We've got to figure out how to get one of those for the archive.
It would be amazing to have like a museum of the early film technology. And to think about the fact that camera was hand cranked, it ran without power. It could be taken anywhere, and there was really no limit to what it could do in that sense. And I think that's one of the things I find so interesting about not just the Lumiere's films, but their camera, is that it's like a prototype of the idea that we have today with digital cameras like this. And I think one of the really tragic collateral effects of the change has been the disabling of cell phone cameras, because that gave incredible power to the people to have that camera in their pocket at all times. And you think about, before the change, how easy it was to be able to record images and then share them online, just moments later.
Thankfully, a few of these still survive.
Yeah.
We get them in the hands of the people today. They can start cinema again.
And that's exactly what we have to do, is scour the thrift shops, any kind of secondhand stores, even junkyards where these things might have been discarded, and get these cameras, because they're not. The beauty of this is it's not Wi-Fi equipped. There's no way to remotely control this, so the authoritarians are powerless to remotely take control of these cameras.
I'm so thrilled that you're going to be showing the Lumiere films in your film society.
Oh yeah,
I think that's where cinema is going to be reborn. Rediscovering the impulse of the first filmmakers is going to inspire the next generation.
Yes, we're going to do an entire program of Lumiere films, and I wanted to devote a screening to an idea that you had mentioned to me once, which is looking at the kind of the fundamentals of film, going back to Lumiere and Méliès, with Lumiere representing reality and Méliès representing imagination. And I think when you bring those two things together, it can be a really beautiful thing. They represent these two different possibilities, and of course there's almost like an infinite number of possibilities in between. But when you get down to it, those are really the fundamentals of film.
They were two of the first, and they're still two of the best.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things to think about is how film changed, like after the introduction of longer narratives and movie stars and all these things that we've come to expect.
I mean, Florence Lawrence being the first movie star is, really incredible, not just for, her own capabilities as a performer, but thinking about how she revolutionized what it meant to film a narrative. It changed, what types of stories were told, what the camera was looking for, what audiences were expecting. And, it was wonderful for the longest time, but after a while, movies kept getting more and more expensive. It became so impossible to enter this field, and I think that's what's so remarkable about those Lumiere films, is to see, just how wonderful and magical cinema can be with just the camera, just a single shot, less than a minute. It's inspiring.
Yeah, this is going to be a great foundation for the show. Well, thanks again for getting these to me.
And there's going to be more coming.
Great. So we're going to meet at the same time next time?
Yeah. I'll bring you some more movies.
Okay, great. Thanks. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Underground Film Society. Before we get started with tonight's film, I just want to mention that our plans to find a new location for our meetings are soon coming to fruition. We've been successful in identifying and locating a new meeting place, which we feel will be much more secure. We will be at much less risk from being discovered by the authorities, and we will be moving into that facility hopefully prior to our next meeting. I will be sure to share with everybody the details through our private chat server, So please be on the lookout for information about where we will be meeting next. But rest assured, the Underground Film Society will live, we will continue fighting the good fight, and we will keep cinema alive. Now, before we start the film, I have a new video for you from Alvin. Can you talk a little bit about how film can be used as a political weapon, a tool for fighting authoritarianism?
It can be used as a tool for fighting authoritarianism, and it can be used as propaganda by the authoritarians. A good example of that is the Battle of Algiers, that showed what provincialism and empire building was all about. That France, it was time for Algeria to be free. It was time for the African nations to be free of Europe. And that was all. That's all censored, and people have all been trying to stop it, and you can't stop it. It's the juggernaut of history. It keeps rolling on.
Ever since George Kaplan's arrival in town a few days ago, I'd begun to grow concerned that our activities would attract the attention of the Ministry of Communications spies. Perhaps we get to be just a little too comfortable, meeting up in broad daylight, or a little too brazen in walking around with our cameras. And then, before we'd know it, the authorities would move in, and we'd be finished. These increasingly paranoid thoughts had started racing through my head more frequently since our visits to the catacombs. Had the helicopters spotted us out there? Or did we linger just a little too long at the park that day taking pictures? Maybe some loyal citizen had seen us and reported us to the ministry. I had a sinking feeling that the net might be soon closing in on our operations. My worst fears began to look like they might be a reality when George failed to show up for our next meeting in the park. I had a sinking feeling something was wrong. Maybe he'd forgotten. No, that wasn't like him. Maybe he'd just gotten delayed somewhere. Possibly. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that our luck might have finally run out. I knew we'd been taking our chances meeting like this. And if they had caught George, how long would it be before they finally caught up with me? That was when I knew I had to go and visit Alvin. He would know what to do. Alvin? 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 Even with these changes, do you believe people will still find ways of recording moving images, and what do you see as the future of independent filmmaking?
Well, in the future I see the past, as in Jurassic Park, life will find a way. Life always finds a way, no matter what you try to do to change it or stifle it. There's the unknown. The unknown factor will always enter into the equation, and there's nothing you can do about that. Life will find a way. Truth will find a way out. The light will find its way out of the darkness. People will be able to see that's light. They'll say, oh, there's the light, and it will attract them, and then the rest follows. But first comes the light.
This is the Ministry of Communication. Open up. We repeat, this is the Ministry of Communication. Open up.
Kevin Quartermain, you are under arrest for violation of the State Communication Security Act. You will come with us.
What's going on here? What is this about?
The Minister of Communication will be meeting with you shortly to discuss your sentence.
I demand to know what's going on. What am I being charged with? Where are my friends? What have you done with them?
Now then, welcome. I am the Minister of Communication, and you are Kevin Quartermain, are you not?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Quartermain, it appears you've gotten yourself into quite a bit of trouble, haven't you?
Where are my friends?
Your friends? Ah, you must mean George and Alvin. Well, you needn't worry about them anymore. Your friends have been taken care of. You see, I'm responsible for prosecuting all violations of the State Communications Security Act. As I'm sure you're aware, violation of this act is a crime against the state, punishable by death.
I'm aware, but I want to know what it is I'm being charged with, what it is I'm supposed to have done. I think I have a right to know if I'm being put to death over it.
Let's see. Possession of illegal recorded media, dealing of said illegal recorded media, illicit video recording of public property, illegal possession of a video recording device, possession of printed still images from illegal motion pictures, plotting and carrying out subversive actions directly against the state. Shall I go on? You see, Mr. Quartermain, we know all about you.
How do you know all of this?
One of the members of your little film society was most helpful.
So if I'm to be put to death, what am I doing here?
I will explain in due time, Mr. Quartermain. First, I would like to know if you have anything to say in your defense.
Defense? What is this, like some kind of hearing? It seems to me you've already made up your mind that I'm guilty. So go ahead. Put me to death. Kill me. But you can't kill this movement. This is much bigger than you or me or this whole authoritarian regime. Wherever there are people with a desire to express themselves, the capacity for creative thought, there will be a million of us like me, like George, like Alvin, out there fighting to keep the light burning in the darkness. You will never snuff us out. The moving image is far too powerful to be extinguished.
That is exactly why you are here.
What do you mean?
That is what we wanted to speak with you about. Our leader has been impressed with the number of people your little movement has attracted. Of course, we knew the power of mass media to spread ideas, but this has grown beyond what even we believed possible. It seems that we can't just kill an idea, even with all the powers of the state behind us.
And what does any of this have to do with me?
We know that you used to be a filmmaker.
I still am.
Of course. And because of that, we have an offer we would like to extend to you. We would like you to direct a film for the state.
You want me to make propaganda? Is that it?
Not propaganda, no. You see, we learned long ago that people don't respond to that kind of thing. No, we realized the best way to put an end to spreading these dangerous and subversive ideas is by providing a distraction.
Distraction?
For a while, we were able to achieve that by exhausting the population with work. But after the change, more and more people opted out of working altogether. And then they had time to think. And that's when they became dangerous.
So you want to exhaust them with endless noise and mindless entertainment? Is that it? That's better?
They were dangerous because they were unhappy and had time to think about it. We realized that's where we went wrong after the change. The issue isn't the media. It's the kind of media people are consuming. If people are entertained, they won't think about how unhappy they are. They'll be intellectually neutered and no longer pose a threat to the state.
Ignorance is bliss.
Precisely. Our leader has decided the time has come to begin producing films again. Films to entertain them, to keep them happy. Films to give them a fantasy to believe in. The leader wants to start this new initiative with a film that will put us on the world stage of cinema.
And you want me to make that film? What makes you think I'm the right person for this job?
We're well familiar with your track record, or what remains of it at least. And after purging so many of our filmmakers and other artists, our options are realistically somewhat limited. So again, I ask you, will you direct this film for the state? Do consider your answer, Mr. Quartermain. You know the alternative.
I don't have to consider it. My answer is no. I'll have no part of making some cheap propaganda for some petty little tyrant. You can tell the leader I will never have anything to do with helping this regime. Ever. You banned cinema, shuttered our theaters, destroyed our film heritage and the tools of production, murdered artists for making films, and killed others just for watching or possessing them. And now you want me to help you make a movie? You can tell the leader to rot in hell for all I care.
Is that your final decision?
Yes.
Very well.
No!
Good morning, Minister.
Mr. Quartermain, let me be the first to congratulate you on the success of the film. The leader is extremely pleased. We all are.
I'm just glad I could be of service to the state.
It's not official yet, but I can tell you confidentially that the leader has already expressed interest in continuing this arrangement.
What are the next steps in the leader's plan?
For now, you will continue producing films for the state streaming service. Eventually, once we open the state film school, we would like you to train other directors to make films in the same style and approach. That way, we can be certain that all media will be uniform in their look and content.
Very good.
That's everything for now. We will call on you when plans for the next project are ready to move forward.
Thank you, Minister. Minister,
What is it?
may I be permitted to make a suggestion?
Go on.
Well, you say that the leader wants to compete on the world stage of cinema.
Yes.
You may be aware that the International Festival of Peace and Love is being held soon.
I'm familiar with it.
Well, it occurs to me it would be an excellent opportunity for the world to see what the state has done in the area of cinema, to show that the state is a creative force to be reckoned with, to show that the leader's power in all aspects of the state is absolute.
You're suggesting we take our film to the festival for the world to see.
Exactly. And as director, I would be proud to represent the film at the festival if the opportunity should present itself.
We will consider your request, and will let you know the leader's decision once it has been made.
The Minister of Communication requests your presence at 2 this afternoon.
Thank you. Please confirm that I will be attending.
Mr. Quartermain, the leader has approved a request to attend the International Festival of Peace and Love. You will be permitted 5 days' leave to cross the border. Your train tickets and accommodations have already been reserved. You will leave on the afternoon of June 5th on the 2:30 p.m. train. Once you arrive at the festival, you will be expected to check in each hour via the monitor. We are entrusting you with transporting this digital copy of the film to the festival. The leader does not want it falling into the wrong hands, so he has given express orders that you, and only you, should transport this copy, and it should be kept in your possession at all times when not being used for the screening.
Thank you, Minister. I assure you I will do my best to represent the state at the festival. You can have complete confidence in my ability to carry out this responsibility.
Mr. Quartermain, let me remind you that this is an unprecedented opportunity the leader has provided you. The leader is permitting it on the strength of my recommendation. Do not make me regret my decision. Let me also remind you that you are to return here on June 10th, on a train that is scheduled to arrive at the state railway station at precisely 4:30 p.m. Mr. Quartermain, I'm sure I don't have to tell you what will happen if you are not on that train.